Am I the jerk for locking myself in a room during a birthday party? I am a 21-year-old female, and so is my stepsister. We grew up in the same house. My ex-girlfriend is also 21 years old, and we grew up on the same street as her. My stepsister and I were always good friends with her before we started dating at 15. We broke up when we were 19. Throughout the entire time, my stepsister and my ex-girlfriend remained friends. I do not have a problem with this at all, as they have always been close. My stepsister's birthday was on Saturday. Our parents have a pretty decent-sized backyard, so this is where the party took place. I told her that it was okay if she wanted to invite my ex-girlfriend since they grew up together and were always great friends. I showed up to the party with my 1-year-old daughter and my boyfriend. My ex-girlfriend brought along her new girlfriend. I do not really care because I have moved on from that relationship. However, my stepsister thought it was weird that she was there because she was not invited. When my ex-girlfriend saw me, she said, "Oh, I didn't know you were straight now and have a whole-ass child." She knew I was bisexual the entire relationship. I just tried to sit as far away from her as possible. Honestly, I think she was jealous because I have a new family. At some point, the baby started getting really fussy and would not calm down. We thought it might have been because of the heat, so we tried to take her into the house to calm her down. She still would not stop crying, so my boyfriend offered to take her home for a nap. He took her, leaving me with no car, and said that he would pick me up at the end of the party. I went back outside and heard my ex-girlfriend talking to her girlfriend. She said, "Can you believe I dated that? I upgraded to you and she downgraded to that weirdo." She started behaving wildly inappropriately. She began full-on making out with her partner and was at one point basically giving her a lap dance. There were kids at the party, including our 5-year-old brother. I walked up to her and asked, "Can you please not do that in front of my brother?" She responded, "We broke up. Don't tell me what to do." I asked my stepsister, the host of the party, if she could have my ex-girlfriend leave, or at least have her girlfriend leave because she was not invited. My stepsister said she did not want to start drama. I am not mad at her for this at all. My stepsister has really bad social anxiety, especially surrounding confrontation, and avoids them at all costs. I went inside to my childhood bedroom because I needed space. My stepmother came in asking if I was going to come back outside. I told her I needed some space, so she left. She came back 5 minutes later asking the same thing, and I told her to go away. I then closed the door and locked it. I stayed in there until my boyfriend knocked on the door and took me home. My stepmother and father are both very upset with me, saying I was acting like a child, and that it was unfair to my stepsister that I missed a lot of her party. My stepsister and I are very close, and she wanted me there. You are not the problem. Your ex was behaving very inappropriately, and her actions screamed insecurity rather than confidence. It was reasonable to remove yourself from the party rather than interact with such a nasty person. Your stepmom and dad are in the wrong for judging you for that. Am I the jerk for wanting my neighbor to not put up a flag in the middle of the river? I live in a neighborhood with houses next to the river. I have neighbors on both sides of me that are also next to the river. Sometimes when the river is low, there is a rock that is exposed in the middle of the river. My neighbor has taken it upon himself to place an American flag on that exposed rock in the middle of the river. He does not own the rock, and he definitely does not own the river. From every single view of my house, I can see the flag in the middle of the river. I have tried tuning it out, but I just can't. One of the reasons I bought my house was so I could view the river, trees, and natural wildlife that come as part of living next to a river. However, now every time I look outside, I just see the flag in the middle of the river. I want to make it clear that I have no issue with the American flag by itself. I will admit that I am not exactly the most staunch patriot, but if someone wants to fly an American flag outside their home, I have absolutely no issue with that at all. Even if this flag in the middle of the river said that I was the king of the world and everybody should listen to me, I still wouldn't want the flag put there because, again, it should not be in the middle of the river. The reason he put the flag there is so he could mark the rock so that he doesn't hit it with his boat or jet ski, which I can understand. However, it is not like he can't go in a completely different direction and avoid the rock that he knows is there. There are miles of river in the other direction that he could boat or jet ski in that don't have exposed rocks for him to run into. However, for some reason, he feels it necessary to boat or jet ski in circles in our shared backyard on the river, and thus, the flag. I have asked him to take it down and he immediately got defensive and offended that I'd even ask because he feels that it is not an issue, and that I am attacking the American flag and being anti-American, and he has no intention of taking it down. I have contacted various state departments, the police, the VFW, and the American Legion, and none of them have helped. Every single person says it is not in their jurisdiction and that they can't do anything about it. Outside of my own personal reasons for not wanting the flag there, it is also very disrespectful to the flag itself, as it does not follow proper flag code for the American flag. So even through my own admittedly selfish reasons, it is also just generally disrespectful to be using an American flag as a marker for where an exposed rock is in the middle of the river. I really don't want to see that flag in the middle of the river until the end of time. Am I the asshole for wanting my neighbor to respect our shared public space and to take the flag marker down? And is there anything else I can do? it's definitely a good idea to report the obstruction to the relevant waterway agency. They have the jurisdiction to deal with it and ensure safety. Make sure to mention any specific regulations being violated for a higher chance of action. In the meantime, if you decide to remove it yourself, be sure to replace it with a standard hazard buoy to avoid leaving an unmarked hazard. Safety for everyone using the river is the top priority. Am I the jerk for still going to see a show, even though my friend couldn't afford it? So I'll start with a bit of backstory. Recently, I, an 18-year-old female, participated in a project that allowed me to go to New York for 10 days. Since I am a big musical nerd, I suggested to the group I was with that during one night we could go and see a Broadway show. 3 people said yes. Let's say their names were Chrissy, a 19-year-old female, Ethan, a 19-year-old male, and Alice, an 18-year-old female. While I didn't know Chrissy or Ethan prior to this trip, I am in the same class as Alice. However, we never really interacted before, as we simply have nothing in common. We made a group chat to coordinate the details, and Alice made a point to say that she doesn't have a big budget, around $90 and not more. We said fine, and started searching for something we would like that is in that price range. In the end, we chose a show and bought our tickets. After that, I wrote in the chat, "Ook, got the tickets," and the other 3 all reacted to my message with a thumbs up. I didn't really think about the situation anymore until we arrived at the night of the show, where Alice admitted that she doesn't have a ticket because they were too expensive. By this point, I was already fed up with Alice for other reasons. Specifically, she was the worst roommate ever. She had food delivered to our room at 2 a.m. and loudly talked on the phone at the same time. She also mocked me for my styming, but I'm used to that, so that's not really exclusive to her. I simply said something along the lines of, "Ok, I'm sorry. Now let's go." However, both Chrissy and Ethan decided that it's not fair to go if Alice couldn't, and that I should also not go in solidarity. Honestly, by this point, I didn't care anymore and decided to go anyway because I paid for my ticket and was looking forward to it. I watched the show and it was amazing. However, when I returned to the hotel after it, I found out that many of Alice's friends, who are our classmates, started texting me that what I did was really rude. So now I'm conflicted. Am I the asshole? You did nothing wrong here. You paid for the ticket already, and not going wouldn't have gotten your money back. It's a shame that Alice couldn't afford a Broadway show, but that's absolutely no reason for you to miss out. Alice put you in a difficult situation by not being upfront about her situation from the start. No one has the right to shame you for enjoying something you paid hard-earned money for. Am I the jerk for defending my partner's feelings to my own mother? I, a 37-year-old female, and my mother, a 70-year-old female, have always been close, as she is a single mother, and I am her only child. My mother has always had very particular triggers due to having a very difficult childhood with toxic and abusive parents. Some of the main ones are getting super offended when offered leftovers and people taking her food, due to growing up poor and being offered scraps only after her parents ate. 3 years ago, my mother was visiting and we went to a sushi dinner with my boyfriend, Noel, a 37-year-old male, his father, stepmother, and my stepdaughter, an 8-year-old female. When ordering appetizers, my mother misunderstood and ordered her entrees too. When all of her food started coming out, I could tell she was embarrassed and said, "Help yourselves." I knew she didn't mean it, but felt she had to say it. When we were almost done, Noel's stepmother offered some leftover pieces to my stepchild. I immediately knew my mother was upset. Later on, she brought it up in private and asked me, just because they were treating us to dinner, she thinks she can take my food. I reminded her that she told everyone to help themselves. She brushed me off and stayed mad. Recently, my mother was visiting again. Noel, my mother, and I were sitting in the living room when my mother randomly said, "Noel, just so you know, I don't like your stepmother." I was mortified and explained what happened. Again, she brushed me off. Noel told me later that he was hurt by what my mother said. I understood and said I would address it, knowing my mother wouldn't take it well. 2 months later, I was talking to my mother on the phone and I finally had the courage to bring it up. I told her that Noel's hurt by what was said because his stepmother has been in his life for over 20 years and to please not talk bad about her in front of him because they are family. My mother asked, "Well, was he hurt when she snatched my food from me and told me, 'You can order something else'?" I reminded her that I was sitting next to her and that was not said. My mother said she didn't want to talk to me anymore and hung up. The next day, I texted her good morning like I always do and told her I understand she probably won't be speaking to me for a while, but that I love her. The response I got was, "I don't give a fuck how much you love me. You have your chosen family, so be happy with them and leave me the fuck alone. I don't want to hear anything about you and your family." I wasn't even that shocked when I got it, to be honest. I thought we would go maybe a week without talking and she would reach out, but she blocked me on everything and it's been 4 months. She didn't even contact me to tell me our family dog died. I'm so hurt and tired. I believe she is waiting for me to be the first to reach out, but I haven't, as I feel like I am the one who deserves an apology. I recently started seeing a new therapist who said I should have validated her feelings more about the dinner, and now I am wondering if I'm in the wrong. So, am I the asshole? I think you are not in the wrong here. Your mom's response is way out of line for the situation, and blocking you is just a manipulation tactic. It's normal to defend your partner when they're unfairly criticized or attacked, especially based on a misunderstanding. Your mom's triggers are understandable, but it's on her to manage her reactions, especially when you've tried to clarify what happened. You can't tiptoe around her feelings at the expense of your own family. It's like walking on eggshells around a porcupine. Am I the jerk? Mother-in-law booked a vacation for us and didn't discuss sharing a room. She just booked it and I'm finding out 2 weeks before the trip. Am I the asshole? Please help. My mother-in-law booked a vacation for the end of this month to take my daughter to Disney. She had been begging my boyfriend to take her, and we finally said okay, so she booked everything the next day. I realized today, by the hotel confirmation in the Disney app, that we will be sharing a bedroom with her and my boyfriend's 2 sisters. One of them, who is 13 years old, has special needs. I needed to mention that for context later. I had been looking forward to our vacation since it's our first trip in 4 years and first with our 1-year-old. As soon as I realized we would all be sharing a room and it was never discussed, everything changed for me. My baby still breastfeeds, so I'm constantly feeding her at night and in the mornings. Because of this, I constantly have my breasts out since she just wakes up and latches on. My baby wakes crying sometimes at night, as does my boyfriend's special needs sister. The fact we would all be sleeping in the same room feels chaotic to me. Imagine that I'm asleep and not aware, but all my mother-in-law and boyfriend's sisters are there. No thank you. Imagine a room with 5 adults, 1 baby, my boyfriend's special needs sister who requires a lot of attention from my mother-in-law, and add in 1 shower and 1 toilet for everyone. That sounds so overwhelming to me. I don't feel comfortable changing my baby in front of everyone, let alone myself. I was looking forward to cuddling with my boyfriend and spending alone time after the full days we'll have with my in-laws. We will be there for 5 days, but now that's not even possible. My mother-in-law has been begging, quite literally on the verge of tears, my boyfriend for us and our baby to spend the night with her. But my boyfriend always declines because we both agree we're not comfortable and we need our space and privacy. Now it seems like she got her way, and I cannot see how I'm going to feel okay sharing a room with everyone for a whole 5 days. We will be sharing a car, meaning we will all be going everywhere together. I was hoping for some alone time with my boyfriend and winding down at night, just the 3 of us. My boyfriend and I have been together for 8 years, so we're both on the same page about not feeling comfortable with this situation. Now we have to go about it, and with less than 2 weeks until this trip, I don't know how we're going to handle it, especially since everything was booked by my mother-in-law. I feel like I'm being ungrateful and selfish, but I genuinely don't feel comfortable with this at all, especially since there was never a discussion about it. So tell me, am I the jerk? Your actions were justified, and that is just wild. 6 people, 1 with special needs, 1 breastfeeding baby, 1 bathroom, 1 room. It's like something out of nightmares. Mother-in-law should have known this setup is simply not viable in any way, shape, or form. If possible, book a separate room for your little family and let mother-in-law deal with the chaos she created. Am I the jerk for using the armrests in the middle seat on an airplane? The other day I, a 19-year-old male, was on a flight home from LaGuardia Airport to Dallas, and the flight was overbooked. I was traveling with my father, but his travel plans were flexible, so he gave up his seat, leaving me to ride solo on the flight. When I boarded the plane, I saw an older couple that had already found their seats in the same row as me. The man was situated in the window seat and stayed asleep the whole flight, while the woman was seated in the aisle. I got into my seat, situated my belongings, and buckled up. The flight was with American Airlines, and their seats in economy are notoriously uncomfortable. I tried to use an armrest to prop my head up with my hand, but both the left and right armrests were being used by the couple. I dislike confrontation and decided to stick it out. About an hour into the flight, my neck started hurting, so I asked the lady if I could use the armrest because my neck was in pain. She responded, "No, you paid for that seat, so you are stuck with it." I apologized and tried to occupy myself with the in-flight movies and shows. When the lady got up to use the restroom, I saw an opportunity to rest my head for a bit, but it didn't last long before she returned. "What are you doing?" she asked. I lifted my head and said, "I was just resting my head for a little since my neck is really bothering me now." She responded, "I can't believe you are trying to take away the armrests to a seat I paid for." I replied, "Ma'am, would it maybe be alright if I could use this one and you can use the armrest near the aisle?" She started angrily mumbling to herself before stating, "You really have the nerve to take away accommodations meant for disabled passengers." I didn't even know she was disabled and just removed my arm from the armrest. She then plopped herself down into her seat and moved her whole arm over the armrest with a smug look on her face. I tried to focus on my phone and bear the pain for the rest of the flight. Now that I'm home, I talked to my friend and told her the whole situation. She said that the woman was just being mean, and if anything, the middle seat should get priority of the armrests. I had never heard of this rule and can't help but feel bad and think that maybe this conflict was really my fault. So am I the asshole here? You are not the cause of this issue. Airplane etiquette generally dictates that the middle seat gets both armrests since it's the least desirable spot. The window seat gets 1 armrest and a view, while the aisle seat gets 1 armrest and a bit more leg space. Assuming that, for her to think she had a right to both armrests is ludicrous. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.